This week, WorldView gets you up to speed on US elections. With just 80 days to go, less than 3 months, can Kamala Harris maintain her bump over Donald Trump? Where does the Indian diaspora stand on Kamala versus Usha? And is Desi heritage now a fixture of US politics? Hello and welcome to WorldView at the Hindu with me, Suhasini Haider.
They want to take away my freedom because I will never let them take away your freedom. They want to silence me because I will never let them silence you. They're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I just happen to be standing in their way, and I will never be moving. On November 5th, 2024, justice will be done.
We believe in a future where every person has the opportunity not just to get by, but to get ahead, where every senior can retire with dignity. But Donald Trump wants to take our country backward, to give tax breaks to billionaires and big corporations and end the Affordable Care Act. But we are not going back.
So certainly feisty messages coming in from the Harris and Trump campaigns in the United States in those latest ads. Remember, less than a month since US President Joseph Biden bowed out of the presidential race, and we had spoken about the possibilities of that happening in WorldView on July 19, just a couple of days before he withdrew his nomination. The US election race has dramatically changed in the 11th hour. The tables have been turned on former President Donald Trump, with polls actually showing the new Democratic choice, Kamala Harris, is doing better than Trump in many national polls. She even has an edge in some of the key states. We'll speak about that, but it's still neck and neck. As the campaign now enters a crucial phase, what are some of the key factors that you should watch out for as you follow these very complex US presidential processes? First, some of the dates that you should look out for. Next week, August 19th through the 22nd, we'll see the Democratic National Convention in Chicago that'll formally nominate Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, her vice presidential nominee. Biden will speak on the 19th, and then there'll be Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, the Democratic galaxy, all due to speak within the week. On September 10th, Donald Trump and Kamala Harris will hold their first debate. Remember, Harris was nominated vice president in 2020 and hence has not really had to debate since the primaries 4 years ago. So it's going to be crucial to see how she matches up with Donald Trump, how the two fare, because of course that Trump-Biden debate went very badly for Biden. October 1st, Tim Walz and J.D. Vance, Trump's vice presidential nominee, will debate one-on-one, and there'll be one more Harris-Trump debate in October before November the 5th, which is election day. So just where are the polls today? And I normally look at Real Clear polling because they have a number of different national polls, and it shows you how in 3 weeks. Just take a look at that graph. Harris came up from behind Trump. That's where Biden was when he stepped down on the 21st of July. And then since August the 5th, Harris has been ahead of Trump by about a percentage point or so. Remember, of course, margins of errors are always about 3 to 5% in these polls, so this could easily be reversed in reality. But the trend of the polls, at least, seems clear for the moment. And look down that list, it's more blue than red, more in favor of Harris than Trump. Can Harris maintain that lead? And does that lead in popularity actually count in the final result? Of course, firstly, remember, a lot can happen in 80 days. All the drama from the assassination bid on Trump to the Democrats changing candidates midstream from Biden to Harris, that all happened within a week or 10 days, really. So 80 days is a lot of time for things to change. Secondly, Harris is experiencing what is called a honeymoon bump, a surge in ratings due to the newness of her candidature. The freshness of it all. And then her choice of Vice President Tim Walz as well last week. The question really, can that bump now subside? Also, US presidential elections don't actually depend on the direct election or on popularity per se. You've heard that before. It depends on the electoral college of 538 votes from 50 states, spread across 50 states, and they decide the next president. Of the 50 states, 38 have actually voted consistently for one party or the other in the past 5 elections. They're considered settled since the year 2000. Of the remainder, 7 states actually have enough seats to make a difference in that electoral college, and they are called the swing states. So that's what a swing state is. And which are those? Pennsylvania, Michigan, Wisconsin, North Carolina, Arizona. Harris is actually picking up in these. She's tied with Trump in the other swing state of Georgia, and Trump is leading in Nevada. So in the past week, if you've seen Kamala Harris and Tim Walz go out campaigning, it's been to these 7 states alone for that reason. You also have to watch the others in the fray. While the US has a 2-party system, third-party independent candidates actually can make a difference by bowing out in favor of one candidate or another. In this particular case, there's Robert F. Kennedy Jr. from the Kennedy dynasty, there's Cornel West, or Jill Stein. Robert Kennedy Jr. actually has about 5% of the vote right now, so that's significant. Then for India, whether it's Trump or Harris, neither will be a problem to engage. And the Indian leadership has really worked with both. Remember, Prime Minister Modi held 2 public rallies with Trump in 2019 and 2020. And then he had met one-on-one with Harris in 2021 during a visit to Washington. And again, last year, of course, Kamala Harris never made that much anticipated visit by a vice president to India. This week, when asked, here's what External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar said about the two.
We generally don't comment on other people's elections because we also hope others don't comment on ours. But as I said, look, the American system will throw up its verdict. And I'm not saying this just as a formality, but if you look over the last 20 odd years, maybe a little bit more, for us, we have every confidence that we will be able to work with the President of the United States, whoever he or she will be.
So just how significant is the Desi vote in the United States? Do Indian Americans make up a significant voting bloc at all? Remember, Indian Americans, as they are defined, make up only 1.5% of the US population. Yet, they are a prominent community in public life. According to one list, and you can see that online, there are 6 Indian Americans in Congress, about 175 in the US government, the Biden administration, and about 100 others in various prominent positions in the government as lieutenant governors, mayors, and judges in various parts of the United States. Now, they're also amongst the most educated communities in the US. 7 in 10 actually have college degrees. And as a diaspora community, they have the highest per capita, amongst the highest per capitas, with an average household income double the average US household, about $125,000 a year, which means that they are influential as political donors as well as voters. Now, according to the Diaspora group, and that's where External Affairs Minister Jaishankar was speaking, they released a report. About 65% Indian Americans actually vote Democrat, while the rest vote Republican. In 2020, it was 72% Democrat, so that's come down just a bit. Now, while both Kamala Harris and Trump vice presidential running mate J.D. Vance's wife, Usha Vance, each have at least one parent born in India. Usha has 2. The interesting thing is neither actually put too much stress on their Indian American origins at present. And that's for different reasons, why it's a little discomfort. But the identity did come center stage last week. Listen in.
When this election started, I thought it would be mostly about abortion or maybe immigration, but things took a weird turn this week, and now it seems like the most dominant issue is Indians.
She was Indian all the way, and then all of a sudden she made a turn, and she became a black person.
Very startling comments from Donald Trump there. They caused quite a stir and some pushback from biracial and African-American activists in particular. Now, J.D. Vance also said something. He said he was being targeted by Trump's far-right supporters for his wife not being white, but that he loved her anyway. Listen in.
Look, I love my wife so much. I love her because she's who she is. Obviously, she's not a white person, and we've been attacked by some white supremacists over that. But I love Usha.
And on the other side, Harris has actually not said much one way or another publicly on her Indian identity. Remember, last time around, she had called herself the first vice president of African American and South Asian descent. But that was 2020. This time, she hasn't also sat down for an interview with a journalist or held a press conference since she announced her campaign. So maybe that's where she will be asked and will answer that question. So what's WorldView's take on all of this? The fact that both the Democrat and Republican candidates have Indian diaspora connections says a lot about the prominence of Indian Americans in the US, the community as a whole, and particularly the emergence of Indian American women, which is a credit to the diaspora everywhere, and certainly will make the Indian American vote in November much more closely watched. As we have said before, however, here on WorldView, having a diaspora leader in positions of power in any country is a matter of pride for all Indians, but don't expect it to impact bilateral foreign relations that really are based on interests more than on personal identities. Time for some WorldView reading recommendations, and I'll try to get you some I haven't given you before. One is called Kamala Harris, Phenomenal Woman by Chidanand Rajghata. He's a journalist, Indian journalist based in the US, was published this book in 2020. Kamala Harris, the American story that began on India's shores, actually written by Kamala Harris and Hansa Makhijani, and looks at that Indian connection. Then there's a book called The Presidency of Donald J. Trump, a first historical assessment. This is by Julian Zelizer and looks at the Trump years. A book I've spoken about before, Hillbilly Elegy, a memoir of a family and culture in crisis, written by J.D. Vance himself, made him, really catapulted him to fame. And two other books called The Road to the White House 2024, The Politics of Presidential Elections by Stephen Wayne. It's certainly an interesting look at how that works and what it takes, the way to the White House. This is by Richard Ben Kramer, looks a little more at what politicians need to do. We hope you enjoy reading all of these and do join us again here on WorldView from the team. Thanks for watching.